Fifth head coach in the history of the Arkansas football program. We will be carrying that press conference coming up live at 1 p.m. But ahead of that, we're getting you set with how this all went down and what to expect from the new coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Keep in mind, guys, there will also be a fan event coming up at 5 p.m., a glorified pep rally with Silverfield getting out there in front of the Arkansas fan base. That'll be over at Walker Pavilion. Silverfield introduced at the men's basketball game sellout last night against Louisville. Looks like he is providing some much-needed energy to this program, passing out some food, sharing a moment with the student section, having a whole bunch of fun on Wednesday night. Now, for more on Ryan Silverfield, his background, where he came from, what he's like as a head coach, Evan Kamiko of the Pig Trail Nation team standing by here inside Razorback Stadium with more.
Yeah, hey Trey. When Sam Pittman was fired a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that Hunter Yurachek went on the podium and said is that they're looking for a coach with experience at the head coaching level and throughout college and even high school ranks as well. And Ryan Silverfield, he checks all of that boxes with a career that started almost 3 decades ago.
Next year will be my 28th year coaching. Started coaching spring of my senior year of high school. Coached at a small college in Farmville, Virginia called Hampton-Sydney College. And at the age of 20, I was the defensive line coach. I went on to be a head high school coach in Savannah, Georgia.
Silverfield didn't last long in the high school game before bigger fish came knocking. He left the high school ranks in 2005 for Jacksonville, then spent the next few years in Florida before hitting the NFL level as an offensive quality control, D-line assistant, and O-line assistant with the Minnesota Vikings. In 2014, he went back to college with stops at Toledo and Arizona State before round 2 in the NFL with the Lions. In 2016, the Jacksonville native landed in Memphis and worked his way from offensive line coach under Mike Norvell to head coach by 2019.
I ask you to help me welcome the new head football coach for the Memphis Tigers, Ryan Silverfield.
For the next 6 years, he continued to build on the foundation set by Norvell. Silverfield had back-to-back 10-win seasons in 2023 and 2024. This past season, he won 8 games, with the highlight being a big September win over the Razorbacks.
Memphis takes care of business with an 18-point comeback against Arkansas.
While Memphis did disappoint this year, finishing 6th in the American Conference, it was time for Silverfield to have a new motto as the head coach of the Razorbacks.
Yeah, listen, we're always going to be woo pig suey, and that's everything, right? We're going to go out there and fight our tails off every single day for the great people of this great state. But we're also going to talk about being all in. It means being fully committed to the task at hand. Our players, our program, we're going to be all in to go find ways to win a bunch of football games, to graduate our student athletes. And we hope the fans join us and continue to be all in.
Trey, the goal is exactly that. The fans can buy into this all-in mentality for this Razorback team, and they can get back to the glory days all the way back in the 1960s. Let's send things back to you.
All right, well done, Evan Kamiko, for a look on what exactly they are going to be paying Ryan Silverfield. Believe we have that graphic. $33.5 million will be the total salary. That's a 5-year contract. The buyout numbers, what a lot of people are going to be talking about if he is fired before 2026. That will be a $10 million buyout set to be reduced basically by about $2.5 million per year. There are some bonuses there you can see as well. $150,000 if Arkansas is to qualify for the college football playoff, and $100,000 pretty much if they are to qualify for a bowl game. But how does this stack up against the rest of the SEC? Really, it is kind of towards the bottom. As you can see there, Lane Kiffin, he is in a category all to himself, $84 million. John Sumrall, Alex Golesh, Auburn, and the University of Florida. And we have very good reason to believe that Golesh was a big-time target for this job. Those guys making $11 million more than Ryan Silverfield will be making here at Arkansas. All right, so I've done this, I don't know, about 100 times in my career. Mike Irwin's probably done something like this about, 500 times. Mike, he's going to get up there. He's going to talk about how excited he is to be a Razorback. That's all good. He's going to talk about his staff, what players he's going to bring in. To me, though, that's not the main event. What I want to hear is the comments from Hunter Yurachek and how Ryan Silverfield feels about that whenever he said, we do not have the resources to compete for championships, but we believe we have them now.
Well, I think they'll try to avoid that, to be honest.
It's going to be like the third question of the day.
Yeah. And what he says, I'm not sure. Look, He had one bad day, the day he was hired, the day it was announced, which was Sunday, starting at about 9 o'clock. There was an immediate negative reaction, so much so there was a protest on campus. Well, the students weren't protesting last night at the basketball game. He came into the arena early. He went right to the student section. He's passing out food, getting in their faces, getting everybody fired up. And no, he did not get booed at halftime at the game. It was a very good reaction. So he's turned things around in just 2 or 3 short days. He did it with some good recruiting early for the Wednesday early signing period. Flipped 4 guys that had been committed, 4 in-state guys that had been committed to out-of-state schools. He still comes up short, about 17 total. Probably would like to be 22 or 23. He's got 1 more period in February. I don't know if he's going to add any there, but the focus now turns to the portal period, in which he can start bringing people in early in, like January 1st, 2nd, right in there. That's what's going to decide what this team looks like this fall.
Mike, you mentioned that basketball game last night, and what an atmosphere. Sellout crowd, big-time win. Coach Cal and the Hogs dominate Louisville. Silverfield's out there, man of the people, the high fives, passing out food. How much good equity do you feel like he's built up here in these couple days?
A lot, more than I ever thought he could do. Now, it's still, it's a long time until they play that first game, so things can change. But right now, he's on the upswing. We'll see if that continues. Again, a lot of it will depend on how the portal period goes. And then we get into spring football. Who's his quarterback? A lot of other key things. Who are his pass rushers? A lot of questions are going to get asked. Right now, it's all about what he does in this press conference and then what he does with the fans later on this afternoon, late this afternoon, when he gets over to that Walker Indoor and is in there with the fan base.
As I mentioned, Mike, you've done this like 500 times. You've seen it all before. What tells you up there when he's at the podium that he's comfortable in the moment? He's the right man for the job. What are you looking for? What do you want to hear?
He's got to come across very natural. When Chad Morris came in here, he had all these slogans. And we later found out...
Hammer down.
Yeah, we later found out he had a lot of pre-planned things that he said. He'd come to his press conference, the only coach I've ever seen that had notes. He'd look down beside the podium and look at his notes. So I would say Ryan Silverfield has to be the opposite of that. And so far, that's what we've seen. Whatever he says has to look like it's coming right from right in here, that he believes what he's saying.
We got some team coverage with this whole thing going down. We already heard from Evan Camico. Courtney Mims helping us out here from Little Rock. She's joining us right now from inside Razorback Stadium with more on, Mike, as you mentioned, some of that good equity that Silverfield was able to buy here in these first couple days. Courtney.
Yeah, you're exactly right, guys. It was trying to win over the fan base almost immediately. You saw the negative energy that was on social media over the hiring, but now it's kind of flipped, quite honestly, with the flipping of some in-state recruits that happened for Ryan Silverfield. Literally the day after he was named Arkansas's next head football coach, you had 4 top in-state commits committing to the Razorbacks. One of them, the #1 recruit in the entire state, Danny Beal of Cross County. You also had 2 Bryant commits who flipped to the Hogs as well, in linebacker Ja'Cory Smith and running back TJ Hodges, and then also over at Central, Anthony Kennedy as well. All of those guys committing to Ryan Silverfield and the program. We had a chance to catch up with TJ Hodges at his signing day just yesterday, and one of the things he mentioned was, hey, Ryan Silverfield has been recruiting me to go to Memphis for a while now, so it was honestly a no-brainer for me when he came over to the Hogs. He didn't want to stay in-state. He was committed to Mizzou and to go play for the Tigers and Eli Drinkowitz, but said, look, Ryan Silverfield, I'm buying into what he's doing. I'm getting other guys in the state to buy into that as well. And so that's already been a good thing for this fan base and this program to see those in-state commits saying we are staying home and playing for the Hogs. It's one of the ways to buy in this fan base into what he's doing and believe in him as the next head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Guys, we are just a few minutes out from this press conference starting behind me here. You can see all the media members that are gathered behind me to hear from the new head hog. And so we're going to go and get ready for the press conference right now. So let's send it back out to Trey and Mike in the stadium for more.
Courtney, very well done, and she was there in Little Rock, Mike, talking to some of those Bryant kids that have flipped. Bryant's such a powerhouse. They're going to be playing for another state title here coming up. Mike, how did we get to this point? Look at this place. Look at this end. He's got his banner up there on the Jumbotron. This is one of the best stadiums in the country. It was like 35,000 people here for that game against Missouri. I know the weather was bad. 2-10, third time since 2018. How did this happen? Where did the disconnect hit?
I mean, it started with that motorcycle accident with Petrino, and then they hired John L. Smith to come in here and coach for 8 months, and he didn't do much. They did win 4 games. Then they brought Brett Bielema in. It was a good hire by Jeff Long. It just didn't work out. They had maybe one good year, a so-so year, and then it started to go downhill. Then they end up with Morris, basically because they fell for a ploy by Jimmy Sexton, Gus Malzahn's agent, to get more money for Gus. They thought they were getting him. They didn't. They ended up without him. Then we ended up with Morris. That was a disaster. And then Sam Pittman, he was not Yurichek's first choice. Believe it or not, Lane Kiffin was, and he passed on him when Jimmy Sexton tried to get him into a bidding war with Ole Miss. And then he tried to hire Barry Lunny Jr., and the board wouldn't go for that. So then he went for Pittman, worked well for a couple of years, and then started going downhill again.
And I think you'd agree with me, it's certainly that the program, it's down, and I know it's 2-10, but it does feel like it's in a better place than it was after those 2 Chad Morris years. But, to some part here, we're really splitting the margins. What to you, Mike, the most important thing for Silverfield to do between now, kickoff game 1, whenever that is, end of August, beginning of September? I think he did a good job by getting some of the in-state kids, getting some buy-in from some fans.
Yeah, aside from recruiting and coaching, what we've heard is that he's a guy at Memphis that went after his own NIL money, his own rev-sharing money from the boosters. That he's very comfortable going one-on-one with them, talking to them, winning them over. If he can do that, it won't matter if Hunter Yurichek couldn't do it. And that's what we've been told. He just didn't have the relationship with some of these guys to get the money they needed. Maybe the coach does it.
Yeah, well, here's something else, though, Mike. At Memphis, he had outstanding resources, G5. Maybe some of the best in the country for those categories. He also was funded by FedEx. I'm not sure if the Fortune 500 companies here like Walmart, the JB Hunts, the Tyson Chicken, I don't know if they're going to buy in the same way that the FedEx guy did. But if they do, don't you agree with me on this one? This is a sleeping giant. There's no reason why they can't be like Ole Miss, or why they can't be like, maybe Georgia's a little bit of a stretch, but why they can't be a top-tier program in the SEC.
Yeah, the money's here. You have to be able to go and get it. And if he can do what he did there in Memphis, if he can go to, and I've heard they're trying to get up a meeting with some of the 2 Waltons that are owners of the Denver Broncos and say, hey, you like football, you own an NFL team, help us out here. So if he can do that, that will really help.
And certainly we got the Walmart logo actually on the field here inside Razorback Stadium. So they're helping out, but college football is an arms race. Look at Texas Tech, Mike, 1 year ago. They lost to Arkansas in a bowl game. They're 11-1. They're about to play for a conference championship. Heck, if something breaks their way, they could be in the Final Four. They could be playing for a national title.
Well, their boosters are unified out there. They've got the coach they want. There were 3 big boosters out there, and they got together and contributed about $44 million to buy the team you're seeing right now. And if you don't think you can,
the team.
if you don't think you can buy a really good team, take a look at Texas Tech. Losing to Arkansas in the bowl game last year, look at where Arkansas is right now, and look where Texas Tech is.
What are you looking for in the signing portal? There's also some recruitment that has to be done here at Arkansas. Quincy Rhodes, potentially in some circles, could be a 1st or a 2nd round pick with me. That is the one guy. It's like, all right, what do you want? We got to have you back.
Yeah, if they can talk him into staying, that would be huge. We got to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. We've heard that KJ Jackson's staying. Do they go after another quarterback? They didn't apparently go after Kane Womack. Okay, there had to be a reason for that. There must be somebody else out there that they're looking at. So we'll see about the portal. They're running back. There's all kinds of positions where they're going to need help. D-line, secondary. So, again, that's a month away, and we'll be here before you know it.
The Pig Trail Nation team here coming to you live. Looking down at my clock right now, 12:59. We're expecting Ryan Silverfield, 35th head coach in Arkansas Razorbacks history, to be at the podium any minute now. He will be joined by Director of Athletics at the University of Arkansas, Hunter Yurichek, as Arkansas looking to turn over this football program, finally get it back on track. This is the losingest program in the SEC, Mike, since 2012. A very proud program, used to dominate, be right near the top of the Southwest Conference. We've been talking about some of the recruits. Kane Archer is a guy that a lot of people in this state love. He's not the best player in the state, but he is the most famous high school player in the state. you a little surprised that Silverfield didn't maybe turn to him and try to get him on board?
Without knowing what happened, I'm not sure.
Mike, got to interrupt you. We have Ryan Silverfield, Hunter Yurachek now taking the podium here live.
Perfect. Good. All right, you tell me when you're ready. Good? You can get that. Got it? Okay. All right, we're going to have an opening statement from Hunter, and an opening statement from Coach Silverfield, and then we'll take questions.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. And I think it's appropriate in an event like this that we take a moment to recognize a person that I know was a colleague and a friend to so many in this room, Nate Allen, who passed away earlier this week. This would have been a special event for Nate for sure, and his presence here today is truly missed, and I know that you all will join me in keeping Nate's family in our thoughts and prayers today and during the course of this week. As I talked to coaches around the nation about this opportunity, it reaffirmed what I believe about our program. We can build a championship football program here at the University of Arkansas. The top-down alignment of a new financial commitment from our Board of Trustees, the university, the Department of Athletics, and so many generous donors that have taken place over the past several weeks was the first step to us being all in on this goal. This financial commitment will push us to the top half in key SEC items such as our assistant coaches pool, our strength and conditioning staff, our support staff pool, and our talent acquisition through revenue sharing and legitimate NIL. With the financial picture coming together, the next step was finding a head coach that was all in. I know for many in the Razorback Nation, coaching searches can last what seems like a lifetime, especially one that starts mid-season. There's the passion of our fans, the speculation, the debate, the misinformation, and a lack of credible information because of the tight searches that I run. And that can make 60 days seem like an eternity for Razorback fans, I know. But for me, this was not a race, but it was important that I took the time to find a great coach and to identify a coach who truly wanted to be here, a coach who clearly understands this state and the importance of our football program to this state, and a coach who shares my expectations and the expectations that we all share for the Razorback football program to compete for and win championships. Ryan was the first coach I spoke to in October, and he was the last coach I spoke to in November. And from our first conversation through the last, he made it clear to me that he and his family wanted to be at the University of Arkansas, and they wanted to be a part of the winning history and tradition of Razorback football. He has a lifelong passion for football and for coaching. He began his coaching career at the age of 18 as a student assistant at Hampton-Sydney College, and over the course of the next 25-plus years, he worked his way from those D3 roots to be a high school head coach, a college assistant coach, an NFL assistant coach, an offensive coordinator and head coach at the University of Memphis, and now the head coach of our Arkansas Razorbacks. As I spoke to people I trust in coaching circles around the country, I could not get anyone to say anything negative about Ryan. Everyone raved about the type of person he was, his character, his work ethic, the culture he builds, the love he has for his players, and that he's a great football coach. He was 29-9 over his last three seasons at Memphis, including a 4-1 record versus Power 4 teams. His 50 wins over the past 6 seasons are among the nation's top 10s for a head coach at the same school during that same time period, and he never had a losing season as a head coach at the University of Memphis. As you get to know Ryan, you'll see the traits that I had a chance to see in him during the search process. He's a great and genuine person. He has an incredible work ethic. He is a builder of relationships, as he quickly demonstrated in the last 72 hours as a recruiter, and he can build a winning football culture and a championship program here at the University of Arkansas. And I know that him and his family are excited to join our Razorback family and that they are indeed all in. Ryan?
Thanks, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Razorback Nation. Thank you all for being here. It's an absolute incredible honor to be sitting here in front of you today as a head football coach at the University of Arkansas. Those words carry weight. This program was built on toughness, pride, that stretches from the hills of Fayetteville to Moore Memorial Stadium and Little Rock. That is what drew me here. Before I go any further, I want to thank Chancellor Robinson, Hunter Yurachek, the Board of Trustees, and all of those in the search committee and everyone else who believed in me to be the head football coach at the University of Arkansas. I want to thank my wife, Katie. Those two beautiful girls sitting right there, Adeline and Cecilia. Anybody that knows a coach's wife understands the long nights, the countless questions, the uncertainties, the love, the patience, and Katie has existed every single one of those. Her love and passion for me and for the game of football stands tall. She's given me the greatest gift that any father could ever ask for, and two girls. And the love for those two, when I look at them, it's what I'm all about, family and football. Adeline and Cecilia will make you guys very, very proud. And man, y'all look good in those outfits. That is who I am, family and football. I told the team when I met with them this Sunday that we will have to earn everything we get. Every win, every championship, every ounce of respect, we will have to earn it. Nothing is going to be given to us here, and that is how we earn it. So how do we earn it? How do we win an SEC championship or championships? How do we win a national title? We have to earn it. We have to empty the tank. We have to attack the work. We will respond to everything with toughness. We will never back down. We will guard our integrity, and we will do it together. If you listen carefully, that spells out earn it. That is our standard that we are setting today. We are all in, and we will earn it every day. Because this is Arkansas, this is a state not built on shortcuts or flash. It is built on early mornings, people that don't make excuses, and communities that fight for each other. From Frank Burrell's national championship team to the 1964 squad that set the standard. From Darren McFadden electrifying fans to Woo Pig Suey throughout the Ozarks. This program is built on pride, resilience, and toughness. And it's time to bring it all back. Here's my promise. We will be relentless. We will play tough and smart. We will do things the right way, and we will earn it. To our fans from Fayetteville, to Fort Smith, to Little Rock, to Texarkana, Fort Smith, Pine Bluff, and all the towns in between, we need you with us. We need you to be all in. We want you to look at this team and say, they fight like Arkansas. Being all in together, we will rebuild it, we will earn it, and we will make this state proud. Thank you for being here today, and Woo Pig Suey. Now, well, I think I got one more thing. Quincy?
All in for my senior year.
Quincy, you're all in for your senior year? Yeah! Let's go. KJ, you got something for us?
Oh, I'm all in until this.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Some good news to get this day going along with the press conference. So
You hadn't shared that with me. That's big news.
that's big news. Yeah, I was good. Keeping it on the edge. Let's go.
All right, we'll turn it over for questions. Trey, I think you got to lead us off, right?
Well, I think I speak for everybody, say welcome, Coach. I'm curious, Hunter, you said this is the first name that you talked to. I was wondering how that first contact went with both of you guys, and then just kind of the conversations that went on throughout that, and I'm sure you interviewed several candidates also along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the long runway of almost 60 days allowed me to talk to informally to about 25 to 30 coaches during the course of that time, narrow that field down to 8 or 9 that we had some very formal interviews with, and narrow that down to 3 that we had some intensive in-home visits with, and then narrowed that 3 down to 2 that we really zeroed in on that we thought both would be great coaches. The first conversation for Ryan and I was by way of Zoom, and we connected with our small college roots, him having been at Hampton City, me at Guilford College. They compete against each other in the ODAC, and that was a common bond for him and I right out of the gate. But I could tell Trey that him and I would work well together, and I think that's really important for an AD and a head football coach, because you got to get in that bunker together and you got to build this program together, and that's the only way that truly works.
Your impressions of the first contact and the conversations that followed?
Well, listen, I've understood how much this football program, this university mean to this state, and I knew that from my 10 years, and then having the opportunity. Listen, there were people that called and programs that called in universities, but when the University of Arkansas called, I got excited. Because I understand the passion, like I talked about, all the things that make this place so special. And so the opportunity to visit with Hunter, and really just to get to know each other on the surface and to talk about things, talk about his beliefs, his core values, what he wanted for this program, it aligned directly with me. And as Hunter just mentioned, that is so important, right? Because I was so fortunate to be at a place that I found special in Memphis for 10 years. But to me, to take that next step, it was important that I aligned with the athletic director, that we shared some common things, some beliefs that stand on the right type of merits of what we want this thing to look like. And so initially, just very pleased, and I said, this is an opportunity that if it so happens to go, I'm all for it.
You've had a lot on your plate, obviously, with the recruiting and talking to all these players individually and stuff. I don't even know if you've finished that yet, but you've also got to hire a staff, and I'm sure you've talked to guys, and you probably are bringing some people from Memphis. I was wondering where you are with that process, when you would like to have the staff complete.
Yeah, Trey, it's the wrinkles on my eyes are probably from lack of sleep between Hunter and I. We were joking around last night that I don't know if either of the rest are getting much these days, but that's a great thing because we're pouring into things that are important to us and that matter, and obviously hit the ground running. Like I mentioned at the basketball game last night, from the moment I stepped foot, getting the recruits, the right ones, right, some of these great ones in state to stay at home, and that was important to me, and I know it's important to our great fans. But then, yeah, part of it has been putting that staff together, and so in between phone calls, in between meeting with the players, I've met with every scholarship football player so far and had one-on-one conversations face-to-face, because that's important to me, is understanding who we are and what we're about and what else we need to do, and what my job as a head coach is to improve this place for these guys, especially those that are coming back and mean so much to this program. And then the staff is coming together nicely. Obviously, a lot can't be shared publicly until they're sitting here in their offices, but I can tell you this, fans and media like you're going to be blown away by the staff. It's going to be a bunch of high-character coaches. Coaches are going to love the players. They're going to pour into them. They're going to love this community. They're excited to be here, that want to rebuild this thing the right way and know how special Arkansas is going to be. So we're going to bring in a bunch of guys and a bunch of people that are going to make everyone really, really proud.
Hunter, you've mentioned expanded financial commitment. Details, though. Can you give details as to what that looks like?
Matt, I think it's our competitive advantage not to give details of what that is, other than to tell you that it is a significant investment in all aspects of our football program that will move us to the top half of spending in all those categories I mentioned in the Southeastern Conference. And I don't believe we need to be at the top of spending. We need to be somewhere where we're really competitive, and Ryan and I are on the same page with where we are. It allows him to go out and hire the assistant coaches that he believes he needs to hire to build a championship program, and to invest in our revenue sharing and legitimate NIL to make sure that we acquire the best talent for our roster.
And Ryan, for you, how important was it for you to hear those words as you went through the interview process?
Well, one of the things that, and Hunter had these discussions early on is, listen, give us a chance. Give us a fighting chance, and I promise you we're going to win a lot of football games and do it the right way. And I think I appreciated that, because like you said, we don't have to be at the top. You give us a fighting chance, and we are. But at this day and age, we also understand how important it is, right? Doing things the right way, being able to build the right staff, being able to provide for our players in this new age of college football. I always look at those. A lot of head coaches look at other things as challenges. I look at them as opportunities for us moving forward. But we know, and that's part of it. And part of my job as a head football coach is to assist Hunter and the rest of the athletic department to see what else we can go and do out there. And I'll just say this, over the last 48 hours, there's been a lot of excitement about what's going on, and that's going to allow us to continue to build this program from every infrastructure, with whether it's resources, whether it's just the excitement, the belief, season tickets. We're going to keep pushing that right direction.
And Hunter, for you, in the middle of looking for a coach, you took on the chairmanship of the playoff committee. Logistically, how did that affect the search? And then did you have to did your higher ups need some assurance that you were going to be able to balance those correctly?
I mean, the benefit of being the chair and just on the CFP selection committee is I'm required to watch a significant amount of football during the course of the week. And so I was able to watch football, evaluate coaches, evaluate how their teams played, because I was required in my commitment to the CFP to do that. So it allowed me the opportunity to really see how coaches perform, their demeanor on the sidelines, how hard their teams play on both sides of the ball. And I was able to do both of those because I have an incredible staff, our senior administration, our support staff, all of our head coaches. I mean, they just do an incredible job, and they allow you to step away from the day-to-day responsibilities of an athletic director and know that everything's going to get done because just the people behind you that work so incredibly hard to make sure that this runs when I have to step away and do, whether it's the CFP duties or I'm away on the head coaching search trail.
Yeah. Hunter, on the new and significant financial resources,
yes,
I'm wondering, the fans want to know, how much is on hand, how much is committed, how much is still to go? Where do you stand?
We're not to the finish line, but I will tell you from a fundraising standpoint, we're off to a great start. What the athletic department is going to commit is significant, and that's how we're going to kind of reallocate some of the dollars that we have. The university, through a direction of the board, is going to make a commitment to our football program as well, and all of that's significant. I don't want to tie a specific dollar amount to any of that because I don't want to limit what we can do, and also I want to make sure that we have a competitive advantage. I think once you put your financials out there and tell other schools what you're doing, then it allows them the opportunity to come meet you where you are or exceed where you're at.
A lot of head coaches came here before you that did not win. Why is it that you can come in and build a winning program here?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, first and foremost, it's always going to start with the players. And, we got gentlemen here today that are going to be committed to doing it the right way, that believe. And that was so fortunate for me, like just immediately understanding what we have on this roster and going out and finding. I think you guys got to see the work that could be done in 24 hours. Give me 24 days. Give me 240 days. Give me 24 years. Right, and you're going to see a winning program, and I think that can happen immediately. It's not one of these things where we're sitting here saying, "Hey, Hunter, I need 3 years to rebuild this." No, that we can start rebuilding the culture the moment we step down. The moment I had the opportunity to sit face to face with these guys and talk to them, and see what they're all about, and tell them what I'm all about, and how we're going to do this thing together. And I firmly believe it starts with the players in the locker room. That everybody always says, "Ryan, tell me about your culture. What's it like? What's it mean to be all in?" And I always say, go see the players in the locker room. Go see those players that have been over to my house, the people that my wife has got to know and to pour into as well. And that's what it's all about. And the staff we're going to be able to put together. There are so many things about the state of Arkansas, so many things about this university, and so many things about this football program that are going to set us up for success. Right? There's a proof behind this program, the way we're going to work. We're going to outwork everybody in this country. Okay, and our players are going to believe in that. We're going to do it the right way. We're going to build an excellent culture, a sustainable one, year in, year out, and we're going to make our fans very, very proud.
You got a first-hand look at Arkansas football this year.
Yes, sir.
And that was basically the story of the season. Did not close the game out. How do you get from that point to winning a ton of games?
Yeah, I think part of that is, just finding ways. And, listen, at Memphis this past year, we found ways to finish some games, and we found some ways not to. And that's the nature of college football. The margin for error continues to shrink, right? And just, brief synopsis of what I saw from Arkansas is, we have to find ways to be more disciplined. Right, whether that's penalties, all those things. I think just the leadership, right? And a lot of the players have come to my office and say, "Coach, I think we want to step up the leadership." Okay, well, good. That has to start right now.
right? We can't wait till we get back on January 14th. That has to start right now, and guys buying into the way we're going to do things. I think the way you condition in the off season, the way you condition during the season, what does that look like? A great understanding of situational football. Now, ultimately, we look at, I don't get much into statistics, but you want to talk about ball security and turnover margin. I think that's been an issue. At Memphis, over the last 10 years, we're one of the best teams in the country at turnover margin, significantly more so the last 5 years. And that's important. That's how you win those games. And then finally getting guys to believe, guys that are going to be resilient, guys that are going to finish and fight every single play. And if you do that, you give yourself a chance.
Hey Ryan, Jackson Fuller, Southwest Times Record. What will you be valuing most in assembling your staff? Is it SEC experience, your own personal relationships, or how are you going about that in terms of what you're valuing?
Yeah, Jackson, listen, I always have valued experience, and I think that's important, but most importantly, great coaches and great leaders of men. And you can say, well, that sounds like coach speak. That's not. Because I believe that how you do anything is how you do everything, and we're going to find coaches that are going to truly pour into these guys. And they may think it's corny, but I'm going to tell them, these coaches are going to love them. They're going to hold them accountable, okay, to everything these guys say they want to do. And they're going to make sure they achieve exactly what we say we're putting out there. And we talk about standards and all those things, but coaches are going to set the standard and push the players to meet that standard. And look, there's coaches that are coming aboard that have SEC experience. All right, they'll be here before you know it, and we'll be able to talk about it and write about them probably the next time we all get together. There's some coaches that have some NFL experience. There's some coaches of various backgrounds, coaches I've worked for before, coaches that are going to make sure the lights stay on in this building, whatever the hell it takes. So all sorts. But I can't wait for you guys to meet those people that are going to be with us, and it's going to be very, very exciting times.
Hunter, another financials question. I know you won't give us the details, but what can you point to fans and say, right here is evidence that we have stepped up our financial game in the SEC?
It will come when he announces some of the people on his staff. That would be the first piece, and then when you see how our roster comes together after the transfer portal officially opens in January, you see we've got a couple of young men in here that are coming back. That's a part of the financial commitment that we've made into our football program to be able to retain those high caliber, very talented young men that we want to be a part of our program and the leaders of our program. And so I think when you look at what the staff looks like, the support staff as well, and then the players that become a part of this program, that will show you the financial commitment we've made to our football program.
Hunter, sorry, another financial question.
Go ahead, sure.
If I understood you earlier, you said there were going to be some reallocation of funding within the departments. Where is it going to be reallocated from? Is it other sports, or kind of how is that going, or is there another revenue source coming in? Or
Yes, and yes. I mean, just a couple of different revenue sources that we're looking through, both through our foundation and through the athletic department, and then just how we reallocate money that we're currently spending within our department, whether that's from a salary standpoint, an operational standpoint, but we feel like we can do some things differently to be more efficient, that we can reallocate more dollars to our football program.
And also, looking over the term sheet for Coach Silverfield, I noticed that the buyout, it's not the tiered one that you had for Coach Pittman based on winning percentage. I'm curious what the reasoning was behind that.
Coach Pittman didn't have the same agent to start out with that Ryan does now. And so not many agents will advise their coaches to accept that buyout the way we had it set up. It was much more favorable to the institution. I think this is kind of a middle ground, that it's favorable to the coach and favorable to the institution.
And then, Coach, for you, I noticed that Scott Gasper is going to be a guy that's going to be following you over. I'm curious, kind of what role did he have with you at Memphis, and kind of how do you envision his role helping you here at Arkansas?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what exactly is I'm allowed to talk about, because some things are certain. But there will be people joining us from Memphis. Some will have different titles, some will have different roles. But there are so many great people there. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here today if it weren't for that great staff at the University of Memphis and all those people, right? I think about 27 years of coaching, all the people that allowed me to get here today. But listen, as things come out, as people are able to get their contracts under, and we'll be able to discuss them at plenty. And I'll be thrilled to make time to kind of discuss the wonderful people that are going to be joining us here in Fayetteville.
Christina Long from WholeHogSports.com. Heard one of your roles at Memphis when you were an assistant coach was some involvement in fundraising. Is that something that you kind of talked to Hunter about in the interview process, and something you plan on using here?
Yeah, listen, first off, we know as a head coach, you have to wear every hat, right? Whether that's picking up trash, whether that's being a CEO and fundraising, whether that's getting my hands in the dirt and teaching a lineman, make sure they're stepping the right direction. But that was part of something that I took pride in. I understand the way college football is going, right, towards the NFL model, all these things, but you still always have to fundraise. I don't care if you're a head high school coach in Savannah, Georgia, or the head coach of Arkansas. That's part of what is needed. And until they say, hey, we're just going to play for free, I don't know if, and we're not playing with monopoly money, there's always going to be the need for fundraising. And so I told them, and I've told his staff already, it's my job to help assist that. And, we can do that first and foremost by winning football games. But I'm happy to go knock on doors, to go meet some of these people. And I think part of that is just building the relationship, right? I can't wait for so many of our great fans, so many of our great donors, so many people that have already stepped up and said, hey, I want to help out. But just building those relationships and let them understand what I'm all about, what our young men are all about, who they truly are. And that's what's been so special to me. Like, you sit there and you have a narrative of coaches, of what you think they are and who they're about. You have a narrative of what you think of a program and the players, and then I have the opportunity to sit down with them face to face and get to know them and get, to tell that story, and that helps the fundraising as well. And I can't wait to develop so many of those relationships. But yes, long-winded answer. That was part of what I did at Memphis, and we're going to go to it full force here.
Hunter, you'll never guess what this is about, but are there plans to implement a student athletic fee as part of this new financial commitment?
There is not. That is not something that at least has been discussed from an athletic department standpoint. If that's something the board and or the university decides that they feel is the right direction to head, that would be their call, not the athletic department call. But from an athletic department standpoint, we have not discussed that.
And then to you, just what would a successful first year of the Silverfield era look like?
It's already off to a great start. When you talk about the recruiting class, the kids that he flipped in the first 24 to 48 hours, the young men that he's convinced that this is the right program to be a part of, and just putting this team together, putting this staff together, and really giving our fan base some hope for the future of our football program and what that can look like will be a successful first year. And let me touch on his fundraising prowess. He doesn't even know this yet. So he was in the courtside club last night, and he was doing what he does in building relationship with donors right off the bat. He walked away from one donor. The donor came up to me and committed to a 7-figure gift to our football program, just with a brief 5-minute encounter. He didn't even know he'd done that.
Like I got to go meet some more people. I'll see you.
I think you see kind of the personality he has, and he can quickly build relationships and sell into our fan base.
Yeah, Hunter, just following up on that example, how did the financial backing come together over the past few months with board, donors, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, the board's had some significant discussions internally as a board, so I can't speak to those discussions. I was not a part of that. I provided some financial data to them. They asked the university to make a commitment. They asked the athletic department to reallocate dollars to make a more significant commitment. And then Ryan White, the executive director of the foundation, and his team and myself, we've been working for the last 30 to 45 days on that fundraising trail.
What was the process like? How long was it to kind of do that review of the department's finances and allocating the money?
It's been very quick because when you're out looking in a football coaching search, I mean, football coaches want to know what their assistant coaches pool is going to be. They want to know what their support staff pool is going to be. They want to understand the revenue sharing and the NIL opportunities before they're going to dive headfirst into a job. And so we had to put all that together and make a commitment to that pretty quickly.
Ryan, big Arkansas senior class, and also just the day and age of the transfer portal. How many spots are you expecting to be filled by your Memphis players?
I can't even comment on that, but listen, we dealt with 78 new players this past year at the University of Memphis, and we know there's going to be turnover. That's, like you said, that's what college football is all about nowadays, but I can't comment on what that like, but we're going to look all over and find the best fit for us, right? And no different than recruiting. It's not about just taking the 4-star. It's about finding the best fit for our locker and the culture that we're creating.
Coach, Hunter mentioned Nate Allen a while ago, and it's odd as this is, the last conversation I had with him Sunday, the last thing he said to me is, will you ask Coach if he plans to have anyone on his staff from Arkansas? He said, I'm too sick to go, and that was Sunday. That's the last thing he said to me. Can you address that? I mean, I feel neglectful if I didn't ask you.
No, listen, and I have much respect for you asking that question on its behalf. As we assemble the staff, listen, people that understand this great state, that's important to me. Okay, and not only I think about this. I think about my nights in the Bass Pro Shop pyramid overlooking, and I'd always point out to the recruits and say, "See that bridge right there? That goes to the great state of Arkansas." And we've had a lot of players I've been able to coach, and I've recruited this wonderful state for so long and had relationships. In fact, I think I was looking at it even when I was talking to Hunter. I think a third of the guys on the roster already at the University of Arkansas, at some point I'd had a conversation with over the last 4 or 5 years. Quincy, I was his first offer out of high school, and he won't admit how small he was when I first offered him. And that relationship, I just think, like, man, it comes full circle. And there's some of these guys. I was sitting down with some of these players that I was sharing with Hunter that a couple of them, they're like, well, you beat me at this previous school, then you beat me this past year. I'm staying part of this team because I don't want to have to go against you again. But we will look for people in the staff that make sense. I assume that there are going to be some people with some good ties to this great state and this wonderful university. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Coach Ryan, Evan Camico, Pig Trail Nation. Curious for you. You were involved in the Memphis community. What excites you about getting involved in the Arkansas community here in Northwest Arkansas? As last night, yelling in fans' faces as well. What just excites you about the future here?
Yeah, Evan. I mean, if you can't go and see what those the students. Absolutely amazing. They kept me from doing it. I was going to put on one of those overalls with the stripes on it, but they didn't know. I mean, I thought it was going to be pretty cool, but I withheld myself. But when those students got me fired up, and that's that passion of the fan base. I mean, just seeing it. From the moment I touched down, the first thing we went and we watched, and I got to talk to Coach Cal and how much he loves this place, and I got to hear about those things. And then you think about the Children's Hospital of Northwest Arkansas. Like, to me, we're going to get back to this community. My wife and I are going to do everything we can to make this place as great of a place as we can. And how can we give back? Like, what are some community things that we can do? We were 5th in the country at Memphis last year in community service hours, and to me that's as important as anything we do, because I think if we can get back to the community, right, it means so much. And a lot of those people are going to be in the stands and being season ticket holders, so whatever we can do. Now, I'm all part of it, and I know there's a Veteran Affairs, there's a VA hospital here. Like, that was something I was huge with in Memphis, giving tickets to the vets. As soon as it slows down, if it ever does, maybe February, I'm going to get out and want to visit with the VA and see how we can help them. There's so many great organizations and so many great people in this community. My family and I are going to do everything we possibly can to give back.
Last one for me. You had those two guys over there just come in here and say they're all in for you. What excited you about getting those guys back for 2026?
Well, listen, it starts with the type of, and I'm not trying to repeat myself. It starts with the type of young men there, because I had an understanding of who they were, and anybody can watch film and know that they're super talented, and know that there's also, like I told them, I said, guys, we haven't scratched the surface, and they know both that. Like, that's why I said I'm going to push them, I'm going to challenge them. And when they sit there and say, "You're right, absolutely," and you sit down with a kid and you tell them you're going to push them and hold them accountable, and they start sweating and batting eye. I'm like, cool, get out of my office. Good luck to you. But those two, it's the mindset, the integrity, the approach. They want to be leaders. They want to see this team succeed, right? I told them, like, there's no more of this loser mentality. And they've bought into it, and in a quick term, and they're going to be the ones that infect the rest of the locker room in a positive manner and say, hey, this is what it is. This is what it looks like to be all in. This is what our culture is about. This is what Arkansas football needs to look like. So guess what? Just like what everybody said, wow, great first week. We're not even, I think I've been here for like 10 months, but I think I've been, a couple days. Like, wait till the week keeps going on. Wait till the weekend. We're not sleeping, okay? We're going to build this thing the right way. And again, it starts with the great players that are already on this roster.
Yeah, Anthony Christensen. Okay. Anthony Christensen, HogSports.com. Ryan, I just got to see a little bit of it when Arkansas played at Memphis earlier this year, but I guess just what are the main, aspects of an identity you want for your first year, with the roster, with the coaching staff, et cetera?
Yeah. I'm not going to give you a coach speak answer, okay? Just no different when people say, give us, here's the deal. You're going to have a bunch of guys that love football. A bunch of guys that are going to be tough, a bunch of guys that are going to be resilient, a bunch of guys that are going to love each other, a bunch of guys that are going to work really hard to make this state proud. And that shows up in between the white lines, right? I truly believe, there's a direct correlation to how we do things off the field, the culture we're going to build. It shows up on game day. And when people watch this, they're going to say, man, that team plays with relentless effort. That team cares about one another. And they're going to be disciplined, they're going to be detailed, and they're going to fight their asses every single day to give everything they have.
Okay. Brian, congratulations, welcome. I heard a cut of yours in a recent interview about this is not a 3-year turnaround. This is something that we're going to turn around in a hurry. What's your message to the fan base for how and why that will happen?
Well, it is. This is a different day and age. Things do take time. Right, the culture to build, you have to build that every single day, and that's what it's going to start with. And you're going to have to put the pieces together. And when I say it's going to happen, people say, well, project the number ones. I can't do that. I can tell you this, we're going to be the best in the country at what we can control. And that's right, the attitude, the effort, the approach every single day. Those things, we're going to be the absolute best in the country. But that's something we got to work to build. And there's going to be some people that are currently on the roster that are going to be back that we're going to have to make sure, hey, it may take a little bit more pressing. But these freshmen we're going to bring in, these young guys, we're going to have to develop them. Right, we're going to recruit the heck out of high school football players and develop them. We're going to be in the best in the country at developing. But what that looks like, a movement in how these guys are believing and what they want and a positive mindset. I already told them, like, we're changing out light bulbs the other night. I said, I want brighter light bulbs down here. And someone looked at me like, what? I said, yeah, not like next month. I said, no, tonight, if I got to go to Walmart myself and start changing them out, I will. But that's part of it. I want these guys to say, man, this is different. This is going to feel different, and we're going to go earn everything we do. But oh, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, when I FaceTime her and at 12:30, she says, "Where are you at?" I'm still at the office. You know, I'm up on a ladder changing some bulbs. No, it's just part of it, and I think it's one step at a time. Yeah, we're going to take this one day at a time. But if you do it the right way, it's going to show up in results on Saturdays.
Daniel.
Hunter, just one quick one on the logistics. When we talked to you, when the change was made, you were one of the first ones in this cycle to make the coaching change. A lot more follow. Did maybe the number of openings complicate the search at all?
Not really, Daniel. I mean, I think we're all kind of swimming in the same pond with the same coaching candidates when it all came to, when you saw how it all kind of fell out and fell into place. Many of the people that were in the final 8 or 9 that I talked to are now head coaches at other institutions, and so you do have to wait till some dominoes fall for sure. But I don't know that it overcomplicated things because there's always a lot of openings. This was an inordinate amount of openings, but it didn't necessarily overcomplicate it. It gave me an opportunity again during those 60 days to talk to the right number of coaches, determine who was truly interested, who was truly a good fit, who was not interested, who was trying to get a raise at their current institution, things of that nature, and then really narrow that field down to a group of quality coaches.
Tyler.
Hi, Ryan. Overall, just what excites you the most about getting the opportunity to coach in the SEC, and how do you get Arkansas back to that standard of winning in the SEC?
Yeah, Tyler, great question. I think it starts with, we understand that this is the best conference in college football. Okay, and the excitement of not just coaching the SEC, but coaching at the University of Arkansas, a place that I believe is going to set the standard in this conference. Okay, and that may take a little bit of time, but we are going to be the standard of what an SEC football program will look like. And how do we get it there? Similar to what I said earlier, it's every single day giving everything we have and pouring into this program. As Hunter alluded to earlier, that the resources that we've been given and we're going to continue to fight for are going to be a huge part of stepping in that right direction. And then ultimately the players getting the buy-in, the work, right? I mean, they won't allow me. I made the joke when I was flying over the stadium landing here. I was like, man, it'd be great if we go ahead and start spring practice, or maybe we can steal a couple of bowl practices or do something like that. I'll be itching and scratching to get on the field, get those guys in the weight room, start meeting with them, implementing our scheme, and teaching them what it's all about.
And then this defense last year was kind of in the bottom of the barrel for a handful of aspects in the conference. I guess getting a guy like Quincy back is a great start, but how do you plan to reshape the identity of this defense?
For sure. Listen, I've met with a lot of the current players and see where they fit and what our future looks like. It's always going to start with the current roster, okay? And then, what does that look like? Are there some young guys, I think, that may have not gotten playing time that, you know what, they just need to get, and they need the opportunity to continue to develop and maybe understand what the coaching needs to look like in order to get them to be able to step on the field. So there's going to be some guys like, oh, I forgot he was on our roster. I'm glad to see he's making splashes, and hopefully we get to see that in spring and then through OTAs and through fall camp and then on Saturdays. And then also, right, the portal is you have to look and see if it makes sense to add those type of guys. But we got to explore, right, offense, defense, and special teams and find the right type of people that will allow us to win the games.
Coach Silverfield, give you some synergy. Coach Broyles had twin daughters. His tenet for winning was some of the things you've already mentioned, turnover margin. How do you impact turnover margin, and what specifically in practice takes place to make that happen?
Yeah, well, Coach Broyles is obviously a legend, and someone had told me that, and so I appreciate that good synergy. They had twin girls, so I always say this. Someone said when you had the girls, is it going to take away? Is it going to be a distraction? No, it's made me a better coach, And anyways, you can see my passion for my family. And how much they mean to me. But with the turnover margin, it is truly, people talk about the keys to victory, and a lot of these coaches go into analytics and statistical stuff. That's great, and that's what you do, right? You always got to have one more point than the opponent. So there's going to be some games. Maybe we win a game 3-0. Maybe it's 48-59. I don't know what the heck it's going to look like. But with turnover margin, you have to preach. You have to talk about it all the time. Right? We're going to use the terms OTB and TTB. Right? OTB is going to stand for own the ball. Okay, KJ and I were just talking about that this morning, and we kind of were joking around about something that's some of the stuff we did at Memphis. But when we talk about owning the football, it starts with everyday drills. Okay, so every coach in the country talks about take care of the ball, but you can notice like how does a team truly preach it with what ball security looks like. But you have to practice, you have to talk about it, and any time that it shows up, I don't care if it's a Tuesday practice on August 6th, if that ball security looks inadequate, you have to approach it, and you have to approach it right then. And the players have to understand there's a standard to ball security. The quarterback has to make great decisions. That starts with the snap. That also starts with the communication in the return game. We've seen year in, year after, especially this year in college football, there are more mistakes made in the return game by poor communication. That's part of the education of what the rules are, and that should look like, and the ability to make that communication. And then we talk about taking the football away, right? That's the TTB, take the ball. And you got to preach it, right? Every day in practice, taking the punches. We talk about the old peanut punch from Peanut Tillman, right? The guy that I saw get some punches on Adrian Peterson back in the day when I was with the Vikings. Hey, you got to talk about when the ball's in the air, going and attacking it. And so that's the stuff that has to show up. We do a takeaway circuit and a turnover circuit every day in practice. That stuff, but guess what? You have to implement in your program immediately. It can't just say, oh, okay, before the game, guys, make sure we take care of the football and go get some takeaways. It's got to be embedded in our program. That's got to be part of our DNA, and that's how you win some of those games we talked about earlier, some of those close games. That's how you find a way to win those.
Thank you.
Eric? Coach, you talked about wanting to build something sustainable, but we are in the age of the transfer portal and guys getting poached left and right. How realistic is it to build any consistency, not just in roster, but in play for any program in today's college football?
Well, that's a great question. Well, if you look over the last 10 years, I think the University of Memphis football program has probably been one of the most consistent programs in the entire country. And I take pride in that. And, that was part of the conversations with Hunters. Maybe this past year at Memphis, we didn't go undefeated, right? But if you look at the track record of what we've been able to build, the sustainability, 51 straight games of 20 points or more. That's pretty darn consistent, right? The longest streak in the country by far and away. That's called consistency. You took a quarterback that we started at 17 years old that started 4 straight years in college football, right? Then all of a sudden we brought in a guy that had won, I think, 3 or 4 games in a 3-year period. He wins his first 6 games at the University of Memphis, right? You talk about what it is. It's talk about keeping guys that want to be a part of something, that want to continue to build it the right way. That's the sustainability. And be able to keep coaches that are so proud to live in Fayetteville, this great community, and be a part of this thing. And it's got to be by me understanding as a head coach, right? When we have a good season next year, well, the next year has to be even better. And it's my job to continue to challenge myself and improve every single year. How do we continue to make this thing better? I'm going to challenge the administration. I'm going to challenge every single person. We're going to continue to push the envelope in the right direction. And ultimately, we're going to be judged by wins and losses. But you can do it, and I think you can have sustained success year after year after year in college football. And I think those that don't are afraid to keep up with it, be able to fight every single day. But we come out swinging, I can promise you that.
Robin?
Hi, Coach. Robin Hearn from 5 News back here. Sorry, we're all the way back here. Just want to talk to you a little bit about what were those conversations like with the guys that you were able to flip within like the first 24 hours, specifically the in-state guys?
Yeah, Robin, if I'm trying to slow down my talking, but I've got that southern stuff, and so I start mumbling. So I probably talked for about 20 hours straight to these guys, just text message talking and just, talking all about it. But I think part of it, some of these guys I'd built relationships over time, over the years, just getting to know them, and then just selling them for the vision of what we're going to do and what we're all about. It started because they have a bunch of in-state pride. And that was one of the reasons that drew me to this job anyways. Like the guys that sit there and say, I want to be part of this program because this is home for me. And whether home's in Little Rock, this is still home for them. And so a lot of the guys are, man, I want to be a part of this. And then understanding what the passion is and what it's like and building something special, right? And like we talked about, it's not we're not going to be good 3 years from now. We're going to help be a part of this thing to get this thing flipped. And a lot of people have sensed that. And I think you got to see what it was like. And I look forward to actually, taking a deep breath, figure out what this thing is. But probably by February, I mean, we're going to start putting in the best recruiting class in program history for the 2027 class. And gosh darn, I mean, if I get a full 5 months to do so, that's going to be a heck of a deal.
Also, since coming from Memphis, have you been able to try any barbecue here?
No, I have not. Most of it's been eating peanuts and stuff I can find. There's not a whole lot of opportunity to explore. Someone said, how's Fayetteville? I said, it looks really beautiful at 12:30 at night and at 4 a.m. But other than that, I don't know. I had to open my window today just to see, wait, there is sunlight out here. But because a lot of it's been just a lot of meetings, phone calls, and conversations, which it's been a blessing because it's been so many great people. Last night getting on the golf cart to the basketball game, I was like, okay, good. I get to see a little bit more of campus and see some of this stuff. But no, I look forward, and if people ever know, and my wife will contest to this, unfortunately, my weight gain is going to increase pretty steadily over the next 4 months, and I hope it's with a ton of Arkansas barbecue. You got any suggestions?
Wright's is a big one here.
Perfect. I think I know what I'm having for dinner.
Yeah, it's more Texas style than Memphis style. Andrew just pointed out to me also that Houston Nutt had twin daughters, so maybe part of the requirement here.
It was. I don't know if the checkbox.
You've outlined a lot of things I think that are qualities in a coach to be successful, but this might be a better question for Katie also, but a lot of coaches that are great have something that's kind of weird about them, have some kind of idiosyncrasy or something, I was wondering what's weird about you.
How long do you have? I think the press conference, I mean, listen, to be a head football coach in college football, you've got to be wired a little bit differently. You have to be, when I got into this thing as a coach, oh, you're going to pay me $5,000 a year? Absolutely, let me do it. You've got to be a little bit crazy to think I'll do whatever it takes to make this thing work. And the hours you put in, the sacrifice you put in, and you got to understand. I think what's happened, and she'll tell you, sometimes it's okay, Ryan. You don't have to be so truthful to everybody. And anybody that's got a wife, sometimes you can be too honest. And she sometimes says it's okay to.
Where's blunt?
Yeah, ours blunt. She tells me I'm very blunt. I've got plenty of things. I'm sure over time you guys are going to see that's a little unique. Probably ask Bray Cook, who spent a bunch of time with me over the years. There's plenty of unique things about me, but that's makes me who I am. What you see is what you get. I think the players all saw it. A couple of them were going over KJ's house and man, that dude is. He's real, and I like that word because that means there's not a lot of fakeness, right? I'm genuine. I'm going to tell you what I think, and if I'm wearing socks from 20 years ago from Walmart, so be it. With my new suit, it's part of who I am, and I think it's going to resonate because people are going to see the real me every single day, and I think the players are going to love it. I think people are going to understand, man, cool, he's one of them.
Always with the transfer portal and NIL and stuff, it's beneficial for Arkansas if things can be embraced from a financial side of things because the state in the area doesn't produce just a whole lot, produce some good players, but per capita it doesn't. But I'm curious, and you could have a lot of turnover this year, obviously, with players hitting the transfer portal, and you experienced a lot of that last year at Memphis. But moving forward, what do you think is a good balance for Arkansas in terms of recruiting and adding players from the transfer portal each year?
Yeah, Trey, it's interesting. I think every year is going to have its differences. This would be probably the least amount of high school guys we ever signed. I didn't want to sign guys that I didn't actually have an understanding of who they were, right? Obviously, there was a handful of guys who were committed already, and we honor those, but then most of them I at least had an opportunity to get to know, and anybody I'm going to bring in our locker room, right? I'm being a part of our family, right? They're going to come over to the house. They're going to be joining the vets. I think that's as important. So we're going to do a great job recruiting. If I were to throw out a random number, anywhere from 20 to 30 high school kids every single year, and be able to develop them. And then, what is it? Like if we only need to fill 10 spots in the portal, and some of those may be a third string guy that I got to bring in the portal. Right, everybody always assumes you bring a guy in the portal, is he a starter? Well, if a redshirt freshman goes in the portal and he's not ready to play, but maybe in a year from now he can fit your scheme, then so be it. But it's finding that right balance. But we are always going to rely heavy on high school recruiting, and our job as coaches is to develop those guys.
A lot of times when there's a new coach, there's some quarterback turnover. KJ obviously said he's coming back. I'm just curious, can you outline maybe like how big of a priority that was for you, and what is it that made you come here and say, I want this guy to stay, instead of maybe going out and bringing your own guy in?
Well, I'd been able to watch, obviously, studied some Arkansas film prior to playing them, and I knew his background. And then really over the last course of a few days, just being able to, more than anything, right, like I mentioned earlier, the film study speaks for itself. And he's got a unique skill set. He's very talented. Even as of this morning, we were actually watching film together, right, going through some things and talking about it, like, hey, I know why this throw went to this way, and I certainly don't specialize myself as a quarterback guru. The last time I was a quarterback coach was 2005. But just talking through things with protections and just getting the understanding of the way he processes, right? The care, and you hear other teammates talk about what a leader he is and how much it means, and so that stuff is huge. And the success of a team, ultimately, quarterbacks get too much credit, quarterbacks get too much blame. But I think KJ's got a bright future.
Coach, you asked about your defense earlier. I'm curious about the offense. Kind of what do you envision X's and O's wise? Kind of what do you want on that side of the ball?
Yeah, listen, it's going to be similar to the same offense I've run the last 10 years. Like I said, again, credit to the players. We had wonderful players, but it's been really one of the most consistent, successful offense year in and year out. And part of that is turnover margin. Part of that is just having great players making plays, and that to me is huge, right? But when it's all said and done, we're not a tempo type team. Okay, we're not an air raid type team. Everybody's got a unique name for something, right? It's pro style. Do you have to huddle? Well, if we're not always going to be looking to the sideline for signals. 90% shotgun. Okay, we're going to not as much pistol as had been done here in the past, which was something I was even studying as of this morning, and just variations, right? But my job is to put the players in the best opportunity to succeed. So if it's out there being in more 11 personnel, if it's if all of a sudden we got certain deals, and if we're short yards goal line, are we more of a 13 personnel? Is that 22? But it's my job and our job as coaches to develop the scheme based off of our players. I think you get so many coaches will say, well, he didn't fit my system. No, you're a bad coach. You need to change and adapt to what the players you have. So even as far as skill sets of a quarterback, what the receiver size is, speed on the field, what's your running back situation, your O-line situation, how much outside zone compared to inside zone. If you got a bunch of 355-pound O-linemen, then how much duo are you running? So look, all that goes hand in hand. That's my job to figure that out. I'm excited to play the first game, but I think I got a little bit of time before I got to determine exactly what plays are going in.
And then going back to the high school recruiting, you announced 17 signees yesterday. You've got today and tomorrow in the early period and then the February period. Are you looking at adding any more high school guys, or does it shift to more portal?
Well, I think we got to see I think sometimes there's been some guys that hadn't signed yet. And if they fit with what we want to do, we're going to always do that. I think if we can add anybody that is going to add value to the locker room first and foremost, and then value to us on the field, we're going to explore it. And so to sit here, as we continue to look at the roster numbers, but as always with everything, expect the unexpected.
Matt, wrap us up.
Yeah, Hunter, you mentioned at the start that when you run a tight search, it can create a lot of speculation. There's a notion out there that maybe this was a disorganized search. How would you characterize how it went?
From my perspective, it was very organized. It went from roughly 25 to 30 coaches down to 9, down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. I know because Kyle would come in and say, this name was floated out there yesterday, this name was floated out there. I will tell you that my staff didn't know who I had hired until Saturday night after the game and we got together. And that was the same way the entire search. And so I just feel like out of respect to the coaches, especially running a search during a season where coaches are coaching other teams, and I have the ultimate respect for what those young men in those other locker rooms are going through when their coaches interviewing for jobs. jobs, and the calendar we have right now in college football makes it incredibly difficult to have that level of respect that I want to respect. And that's why I run a tight search. It's really out of respect for those coaches that I'm talking to, because I don't want rumors to be floated out there. I'm not trying to get somebody else a raise. I'm not trying to hurt them and their program. I'm trying to acquire the best coach for the University of Arkansas. And so, again, no one knew on my athletic department staff until Saturday night after the Missouri game who we were hiring.
Speaking of Saturday night, I noticed on the term sheet you both signed it Saturday night. What was the timeline like Saturday when it was offered, agreed upon? How did that go?
Yeah, Ryan and I had been communicating last week. He had a game against Navy, and I wished him good luck. It didn't turn out the way he wanted it to. We communicated some on Friday. He wished me good luck heading into the Saturday game. We visited some during the game on Saturday. I stepped out of my box and at halftime and went and called him. And then we officially got everything wrapped up late Saturday night.
Fellas, thank you very much. Appreciate all y'all coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't y'all wait 3 days and do this?
Good to go. Trade Air, Mike Irwin back here live inside Razorback Stadium. They just wrapped up Ryan Silverfield's introductory press conference. Mike, kind of hard to screw things up. Everything's good on day one. The marriage just started. We're in the honeymoon phase. How do you think he handled himself? He had a lot of selling to do. He's been getting right to work and doing that.
Well, I think the biggest news was he had off to the left two players that have agreed to come back.
We talked about before the press conference.
Yeah, and then they're back. So that's two big names, one on defense, one on offense. So that's a good start. Talking about raising money, he confirmed what we had said, that he has a reputation at Memphis of raising his own money. And Hunter Yurachek said, look, we were out at a meeting. He visited one of our boosters for like 5 minutes, and he said the guy came over and told me he's committing seven figures. So that's over $1 million with a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah, unbelievable. He said that happened actually just at the basketball game a couple days ago. It seems like there's an increase in the financing. The way that they're getting these high school recruits, you got Quincy Rhodes. He could be a transfer portal millionaire. He's coming back. Do you like what you're seeing from the program? Because this thing really does need a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of talk about what his offense is going to be, what they do. But the thing he kept stressing over and over again is, we will be the hardest working team in the SEC. He said, I know that. We will outwork everybody. If he does that, they'll win.
Is this any different than what maybe today did you catch that possibly wasn't expected?
Not well. If you go back to day one, I think a lot of negative was expected. Yeah. This was a lot of positive. And, you know, a press conference is very different from what we're going to see later on today when he meets with the fans, and it's a celebration-type pep rally. You don't do a pep rally at a press conference. We're media guys. We're not going to sit back there and go, yeah, this is really exciting. So that was pretty much what I thought it would be. The questions got a little bit repetitive. Maybe it went a little too long, because when you start going back over areas you've already covered, then you start asking, why are you asking that question again, even if it was a different person? But it went about the way I thought it would.
They did go about an hour. There were a ton of questions about the finances. Again, because look, if you were with us back in the 12 o'clock hour leading into the press conference here, we did talk about some of the specifics in the contract. That, you know, hey, $33.5 million, you're a good way behind there. Florida and Auburn. Hunter Yurachek, I thought he had a good response, but I just want to throw out there the kind of money that we're going to be paying, because we don't want other teams to match it or try to compete with that. Do you feel like he gave a good enough answer, Hunter Yurachek that is, for where the finances are?
Well, they pinned him down a little bit with one question. How much of this do you have, and how much of it still has to be raised? And he said, we're getting close to the finish line. So whatever that means, whatever the total is that they didn't want to talk about, It sounds like they're close, but we'll find out again when this portal period, and they start trying to bring in people out of the portal, the kind of money they get. Do they get outbid? Are they losing players because they're getting outbid? Or are they outbidding some other schools for players? That's when we'll know about the money.
And I think so far, so good. Do not get it twisted. Those in-state players, they were open for bidding. Yes, they want to be at home, but Arkansas made sure they stayed home. Quincy Rhodes, that's a player that could get right around $1 million in the transfer portal. That's a player that could be a first or second day pick in the NFL draft. He's staying here. KJ Jackson, the head coach, as he mentioned, this is a kid that has showed promise. We believe we could build around him. We like his skill set. We want to work with him. He is staying here. So right out of the gate, Arkansas doing the right things. It's not about what you say. It's about what you do. So whenever you read between the lines there, how they're retaining players, how they're recruiting players, those are some really good signs. So we go about an hour. Mike Irwin doing a fantastic job breaking it down. We're going to have so much content coming your way online. Be sure to keep it tuned to the Pig Trail Nation. Again, online, on the air, 4, 5, 6 back in Little Rock, 5 and 6 o'clock back in Northwest Arkansas. As I thought for a second, maybe Ryan Silverfield was driving by in the golf cart. But for now, we're signing off from here inside Razorback Stadium.
Thanks for watching live coverage of the Ryan Silverfield News Conference from the Pig Trail Nation.